And here is the Artist's Almanac for February 5th, 2018. It's the birthday of Jamaican singer-songwriter Bob Marley, born on this day in 1945. Marley became an international music and cultural icon, starting out in 1963 with the group The Wailers, and forged a distinctive songwriting and vocal style that would later resonate with audiences worldwide. After the Wailers disbanded in 1974, Marley pursued a solo career that culminated in the release of the album Exodus, which established his worldwide reputation and elevated his status as one of the world's best-selling artists of all time, with sales of more than 75 million records. Exodus stayed on the British album charts for 56 consecutive weeks. In 1978, he released the album Kaya, which introduced the hit singles Is This Love and Satisfy My Soul. The greatest hits album, Legend, was released in 1984, 3 years after Marley died, and subsequently became the best-selling reggae album of all time. Marley has also evolved into a global symbol, which has been endlessly merchandised through a variety of mediums. In his book Reggae and Caribbean Music, author Dave Thompson laments, "Bob Marley ranks among both the most popular and the most misunderstood figures in modern culture. That the machine has utterly emasculated Marley is beyond doubt. Gone from the public record is the ghetto kid who dreamed of Che Guevara and the Black Panthers and pinned their posters up in the Wailers' Soul Shack record store, who believed in freedom and the fighting which it necessitated, and dressed the part on an early album sleeve, whose heroes were James Brown and Muhammad Ali, whose god was Rastafari, and whose sacrament was marijuana. Instead, the Bob Marley who surveys his kingdom today is smiling benevolence, a shining sun, a waving palm tree, and a string of hits which tumble out of polite radio like candy from a gumball machine. Of course, it has assured his immortality, but it has also demeaned him beyond recognition. Bob Marley was worth far more." On May 11, 1981, Bob Marley died of cancer at the age of 36, but his music lives on. Prophetically, Marley said, "My music will go on forever. Maybe it's a fool say that, but when I know facts, I can say facts. My music will go on forever." In 2017, his album Legend celebrated its 500th week on Billboard's Top 200 chart, an achievement bested only by Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. It's also the birthday of legendary paleoanthropologist Mary Leakey, born in London, England in 1913. Mary was wife to the famous Louis Leakey, whose work was instrumental in demonstrating that humans evolved in Africa, particularly through discoveries made at Olduvai Gorge with his wife Mary, who also did a lot of the heavy lifting and was at times uncredited for her own discoveries until after the death of her husband. On the morning of the 17th of July, 1959, Louis felt ill with the flu at Olduvai and stayed at camp while Mary went out to the field. During her work that day, she discovered the skull of what would later be called the Australopithecines. At the time, scientific consensus did not include these proto-hominids as part of our ancestry. But the Leakey's work at Olduvai changed that for good. After examining the cranium, Louis Leakey concluded it was of a species ancestral to humans, eventually dubbing his wife's find East Africa Man. After the death of her husband in 1972, Mary Leakey continued her field work. It was at the Laetoli site just south of Olduvai Gorge that she discovered hominin footprints, made in what was then volcanic ash some 3.75 million years ago, proving once and for all that our ancestors were bipedal much earlier than previously thought, and predating the enlarged brains we make use of to varying degrees today. Throughout her career, Leakey discovered 15 new species of animals, 1 new genus, and for over half a century, Mary Leakey labored under the hot African sun, scratching in the dirt for clues to early human physical and cultural evolution, and setting the standard for both documentation and excavation in Paleolithic archaeology. Lewis was always a better publicist than scientist, said E. Barton Worthington, a fellow of the Royal Geographical Society in London and former African explorer. Mary was the real fossil hunter. Thanks for listening. Be kind, do good work, and until next time.